Okay, good morning. Good morning, everybody. It's I am recording this presentation, and if you are visible on your video, then you may be included. I will be uploading this presentation to our YouTube channel. Okay, so let me get my screen going here. Thank you, Ellen, for letting all those people in. Okay, I'm going to provide you with some instructions viewing on a desktop. Also, this would also include viewing on a laptop. So this does not, the instruction I'm providing right now could be helpful on an Android or an iPhone, but where you locate the different features is a little different. I can't get into every device. Offline, I'm happy to help whenever I can. So I want to talk to you about how to turn on captions. Your toolbar is at the bottom, and there is I'm also going to talk about full transcript, chat window, and raise hand. So there we go. I'm just hoping here's how you turn on captions. So on your toolbar at the bottom, look for the CC, click on it and select Show Subtitle. If you like to see more than just a couple of lines, you can click on View Full Transcript, and that'll open up the complete transcript, and you can push it off to the side and you can see the transcript as you go along. Just don't want to see mine. There we go. If you want to adjust the subtitle settings, like making them larger or smaller, you can use the subtitle settings feature. Full transcript is not available in full screen mode. So up at the top right-hand corner of your desktop or your laptop, you can select to not be, that's where you maximize the screen or not. So if you keep it not maximized, you'll be able to see the full transcript. I want to introduce you to the chat window. This is an opportunity for you to open that up, type out your questions. You can privately message somebody if you choose. And by selecting where it says everybody, you can click on that little down icon, and you'll see a list of everybody that's there, and you just select the list of the person you want to send a private message to, and that message comes directly. So if you want to practice that while I'm talking, send me a private message.
Tony?
All right. And Tony? Then go back to everybody, and then everybody gets the message. Everybody, if you're asking a question, everybody will see your question.
Tony?
Yes.
Just one thing about the private chat. It's private that you're directing a message to somebody, but I think it comes out in the transcript. So if someone prints the chat after or saves the chat afterwards, I think it may be included with that.
Oh, okay. Okay, so be kind in your private chats. All right. You can pop out the chat window and put it off to the side if it becomes if it comes in the way of the captions. And by the way, you can actually move the captions all around the screen if you like. Move it way off to the side, way at the bottom, up at the top, wherever it's convenient for you. But you can also do that with a chat window. Just click on the pop out and you'll see that it just sort of pops out, and then you can click on it and move it. Please use the chat function to ask for technical support. If you send a message to Alan, if you would, Alan Katsura, if you would send a message to everybody, and when they receive that, they'll know who you are. Private chats are not private. Mary Kate says that. Well, they are at the point in time of the meeting, but they may not be private in a transcript. So that was the point that Alan was making. Thank you, Alan. If you have updated your Zoom, and they seem to be updating it almost every week, all of the reactions are in an icon called reactions. So please notice that there is the raise hand feature. And I'm not going to be able to see, everybody at one time. So if you're waving at me to ask a question, I may not see you because I can only see so many videos at a time. But if you use the raise hand feature, that will immediately come up and I will see that. So, and then there's also applause, agree, laugh, surprise, all these other expressions or reactions that you could give. So, all right. But so let's use the raise hand if you have a question. Okay. I'm going to do this a couple of times. This is February. The Hearing Well Club has served Laguna Woods since 2012, but effective January, we have merged with the Hearing Loss Association of America Mission Viejo Chapter. This will allow us to reach more people. We now serve all of South Orange County. We're not just limited to Mission Viejo or Laguna Woods. And the Hearing Loss Association provides rich resources, lots of Zoom advocacy, a lot of different ways to be involved. They do such a wonderful job that I'm just going to send notices to you when it's available. And then you can participate. Okay, and HLAA, for short, provides information, education, support, and advocacy for all people, members or not, for all people with hearing loss. I want to recognize and thank our officers. I'm the president, Vice President Brian. Brian, good to see you here. Secretary Judy Mandel. Judy, are you here? Let's see. Yes, she is. And Secretary Jeff Chess, who I need to get in touch with. So Jeff is here. And my program director, George Gross. So without them, we couldn't really continue. So my thanks to our chapter officers. It's important for you to know that HLAA Mission Viejo does not endorse any single product or service, and this meeting is intended to provide information, education, and support. So it's up to you to do your research. We'll provide you with information. I want to acknowledge and thank our sponsors. First of all is Caption Call. So Caption Call actually sponsors this program by paying for our live captioner, Linda Christensen, is captioning for us today. And we thank Caption Call for that. Amazing Hearing provides tremendous support on an ongoing basis. And I get a lot of technical questions. And I'm not a licensed hearing healthcare provider, so I do depend on Anne and Laura to provide answers. So thank you, Anne, for always being there. I'm kind of sneaking this in. Oticon is our presenter today, but if you would like to have more up close and personal information about Oticon, Anne is having an open house Tuesday and Wednesday, February the 16th and 17th. So I'll be doing a little poll question, and if you would like to get more additional information or have it sent to you in your email, I'll be happy to do that. I also need to recognize Richard Archbold, who does loops. He does hearing loops, and he's been a sponsor from the very beginning in Laguna Woods. If they ever open up the clubhouses, you're going to find that most of them, not all of them, but most of them have an audio loop that so you can hear presentations personally in your ear. And I would like to provide more information about telecoils and hearing loops, and I'll be doing that in another meeting. So Mission Viejo Chapter is a 501c3 tax-exempt chapter, and tax deductions may be available. The chapter is all volunteer. Nobody receives wages of any kind. Local membership is not required. The Hearing Loss Association of America does have a membership, $35 a year per person, and you get a wonderful information-packed magazine on a quarterly basis. We do depend on your support. We do have a lot of expenses on the technical side, on the web side, and appreciate you if you can donate online to the Mission Viejo chapter. So this is our email address. This is my email address, tony@hlaamv.org. You can text or call me at this number. Website is HLAAMV.org. And we're on Twitter and Facebook. So you'll find those links on our website. That's it. All right. So now we get started with our presentation from Oticon. And I'm just so, I'm really pleased to have you because I know that technology is moving rapidly. It's just getting better and better and better. And so it's my understanding that Shalise Butters, did I say that right? Butters?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm terrible with pronouncing names.
All right.
And David Magee is here, Dr. David Magee, and Dr. Butters. I speak to them personally because we've spoken before and I feel that way. So George Gross is here too. He helped get our presenters on board today, along with help with Anne Mundell Noel, Amazing Hearing. So Shalise, I'm just gonna say welcome aboard and please introduce yourself. And I'd like David to introduce himself when you're done, and please do your presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Tony. I'm actually going to have David come on and introduce the four of us here right at the beginning before I get started. David?
Thank you, Dr. Butters. Well, it's great to have everyone joining us today. We very much appreciate it. And we hope that you'll find this educational virtual consumer seminar both interesting and enlightening. As Tony mentioned, there's been always changes in technology. It's always moving forward and improving. But about once every 10 to 15 years, there's a very significant leap in technology, and we're just very excited to be able to present that today. So we're going to cover hearing loss, and also new technologies. We're also very thrilled to have two highly skilled audiologists joining us today, Anne Mundell-Noel and Laura Hunt, which Tony alluded to at Basic Hearing. We work with them quite closely and we cannot recommend them more highly. And they will be participating, as I mentioned, in today's presentation. Before I turn the presentation over to Dr. Butters, I would like to extend a very special thank you to Tony Barrett and to George Rose for setting this up. They've always been a pleasure to work with, and we're very impressed with how dedicated they are to hearing impaired. So we again want to thank them very sincerely. With that said, Dr. Butters, would you like to start your presentation?
Sure. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting us, Tony. We really enjoyed last time we were here to be able to present last year. If I remember correctly, I believe it was in April. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity again today. As Tony mentioned, she went throughout to show about the chat function of Zoom. If you do have questions, this is one of the best parts of the presentation last time, was we were able to address questions. So if questions do come up, please write those questions in the chat box. Dr. Majid will be keeping his eye on those questions and trying to answer them as they come in, if possible. And then we're going to try to save some time at the end of the webinar today as well to be able to address questions. Anything that happens to come up, please put those questions in the chat box. To go through a little bit of the agenda that we have planned today, first, we'll talk a little bit about brain hearing. Brain hearing is something that we talk about quite often at Oticon. This is a very important concept to us. We know how important the brain is in the hearing process. So we'll talk a little bit about that along with some research that looks at brain health. Last time we met with you, we talked a little bit about the Lancet journal article that came out in 2017. There was an update to that research that came out July of last year that I wanted to touch on and talk a little bit about. After that, Anne is going to talk a little bit about listening effort specifically in today's world. We know that listening and understanding has increased in difficulty, especially for individuals that have hearing loss because of masks. And so Anne will touch on that and talk a little bit about that for you. After that, I'm excited to then talk a little bit about the new technology we have at Oticon. We came out with a new hearing aid in January of this year, and I'm excited to be able to talk a little bit about how technology has progressed and how it's changed. And on top of that, what are the benefits you should be able to see because of that? After that, Anne will talk a little bit more about some pieces of connectivity that could potentially help you in your daily lives, along with telehealth. That is something that is very important, again, with today, what we are dealing with the pandemic. And so it's a nice option that most hearing aid manufacturers have for you. And also some cochlear implant manufacturers have that option as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, and again, try to save time at the end for questions. Now, I have a few poll questions that I wanted to ask you here at the beginning, and I'm actually going to have Laura come on and read these for me. I'll launch the first poll question for you. Laura, if you could read this. Laura, will you unmute your mic? Sorry. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Shalise. So our first question today is, are you presently using hearing aids or cochlear implants?
Okay, I'm going to give about 5 more seconds, and then we'll do the next poll question. All right, let me go ahead and end that. and I'll share the results of that one with you. It looks like about 84% of you are currently using hearing devices of some form or another. So thank you for that. We'll go ahead and do the next poll question. We will again give about 15 seconds to answer this. So Laura, if you'll read this one.
Yeah, if you are not presently using hearing technology, why have you chosen to not move forward with hearing devices? Maybe there's more than one option that would be appropriate for you, but picking the one that's the number one reason for you.
Thanks, Laura. All right, about 3 more seconds here.
Shalise, I think we just need to move forward on the slide. The old
thank you.
Old question is still up there.
Thanks. All right, let me end that and then I'll share these results with you as well. So interestingly enough, it looks like the biggest response here is other at 60%. So it would be interesting to have more of a conversation on why those of you have chosen not to move forward with hearing aids. So thanks again for answering those, and thanks, Laura, for reading those questions for us. Now, the first thing that I wanted to jump into and talk a little bit about is brain hearing. At Oticon, we often talk about brain hearing. It's part of our educational materials, and the whole idea behind brain hearing is how can we, as a manufacturer, create devices that work alongside the brain to support the brain and how the brain naturally processes sound. And so this is something that Oticon has been focused on for years now, looking at creating hearing aid technologies that can work alongside the brain and actually best support the brain. Now, I'm excited to talk to you about the new technology that we have a little bit later on in the presentation, and we'll highlight how these brain hearing technologies work to support the brain. Now, one of the things we also say at Oticon is that hearing care is health care. We know that hearing loss is associated with other things. It's not just the loss of being able to hear, but it's also the loss of being able to understand. And sometimes along with that can come social isolation. If you don't want to go out and be part of communication or correspondence with people because you can't understand, it can also lead to depression, and another one of those things is dementia. There has been some research that has come out, especially I would say within the past 5 to 10 years. Brain health has been a very hot topic in the medical field, and something I think most of us are much more aware of than maybe what we used to be. Now, one of these pieces of research that has come out is an article in the Lancet Journal. Now, this is what we talked about last time we met, and we talked about this Lancet Journal article, but there was an update that came out at the end of last year that I think is worth mentioning and is important. So we're going to talk about that now. Now, in 2017, when this article originally came out, they talked about different risk factors for dementia. And originally in the article, they labeled that there were 65% of risk factors that were non-modifiable. There's nothing you could really do to change the course of dementia if it was going to occur. Things like genetics would make up that 65%. There were 35% of risk factors that were potentially modifiable, something that you could maybe do something about to reduce that risk of dementia. Now, in last year, in July, they came out with an update to this, where they've now said that 40% of risk factors are potentially modifiable, and they've given a list of 12 different risk factors. As part of those 12 risk factors, hearing loss is one of them. Now, hearing loss makes up the highest percentage of this 40%. But what was the most interesting part of this new update to this article was the fact that in the original article, it was very specific, saying that there was no research to show hearing aid intervention actually did anything to slow or delay dementia from occurring. In the new article in 2020, they highlighted some very large studies that showed that intervention with hearing aids could potentially reduce or delay dementia from occurring. Now, on top of that, there is more research that's coming out in our field that is very interesting, that looks at the brain and brain health and what hearing aid intervention can actually do with that. They've been able to take scans of the brain to see what areas or what portions of the brain are used in different functions. And that has been kind of a very interesting article piece of research for us to be able to read, to see what is the difference if somebody has hearing loss, if they're not using hearing aids, compared to if they are. Hopefully in the future, we'll have another opportunity to meet with you, and perhaps at that time, we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that interesting research that shows what hearing aids can do. Now, to move on, I want to talk a little bit more about listening effort. And to do that, I have one more poll question here that we want to ask. I'm going to have Laura come on and ask that. And then Anne is going to take us through listening effort in today's world.
Which setting have you found yourself having difficulty hearing and understanding? There might be multiple answers here that would be appropriate for you, but pick the one that you find the most challenging.
Thank you, Laura. We'll give about 10 more seconds to get your answers in here. All right, I'm going to close the poll in 3 seconds. All right, let's end that and I'll share the results. Anne, this is interesting information for your section here.
Yes, it is. So when we talk, it's not surprising that in this day and age, we're going to talk about the mask being an issue. Studies were done right after COVID started last year about the effect of the mask on comprehension and understanding. One, because we know, you guys are all very well aware, it takes away the lip reading ability. And the eyes and the ears are working together to give us that information. And when we take away one segment, now we are really in trouble. So obviously it takes a lot more effort in order for you to get that information. A couple things that are happening here in the office, and we have talked about this a few times, is we do have the mask and we do have clips that we are offering here at the office. So we've been on channel 6 in Laguna Woods talking about them for those that have seen them, but we have a free clip. And what this clip does is it allows you to take the mask and pull it down so that it is sitting below your ears. So it doesn't affect your hearing aids or your cochlear implant as far as pulling it off when you take your mask off. So Laura's going to demonstrate it here as I talk about this. We give a clip free to each person who is a patient. If you are part of this group, you can come into the office and we'll give you one free. But you can see here as Laura is demonstrating, I'm going to have her turn around, it's pulling the mask low. So this is one thing that just physically is less effort for you because the mask is sitting low, it doesn't pull the hearing aid off. The bigger thing, and as you're aware of, it makes your ears tired. So your ears get sore from having the mask on your ears. So the clip itself is a help. And it doesn't matter if you're using the clear clip, masks like this, or you're using the ones over that cover here. That clip can be used with all those types of masks. So that is one thing that we're doing. The other thing that we're doing in order to help people, because the speech is being pulled down through the mask, is that we are offering a speech program or a masked program. So what we're doing is we're actually boosting the speech frequencies in the hearing aid. And so when you have the mask over your mouth, now you're muffled, but in that speech or mask program, you're getting more boost. So I like to say to the patients that it's kind of like wearing sunglasses in the house, right? It's too dark when you have sunglasses in the house, but when you go outside, they work perfectly. In the same way, that mask program is going to be a little bit too loud when you're in a normal conversational environment, but when you get in somewhere you're going to go shopping, you can put the mask program on for that time, because we do know that the masks and the effort to hear and comprehend are much higher. It's so much higher. And prayerfully, we're going to get out of this pretty soon. But until that time, that is one of the key things that we can do to help you. So dealing with the masks, you know, we know that some of the strategies that Shalise has just put up there, as far as reducing background noise, asking people to slow down, and have people rephrase. Those are normal things that most of you are very good at doing, even in normal conversational levels and normal situations. But during this very difficult time, I would encourage you to come in and get the mask program, because the effort is fatiguing. And we understand that it is. The good part about it is that many of you who are continuing to wear your hearing aids during this time, you're actually strengthening your brain and getting it ready so that when we do go out into groups and conversations in background noise, your brain is prepared to handle the sound. For those people who are not wearing their hearing aids, get them on, get them going, because we are going to be getting out into background environments very soon. And as Shalise has been saying, our brain needs the input.
And
Yes.
we have Judy Mandel, if you will, has a question.
Yeah.
Unmute yourself and
Yeah. And well, I guess it's both of you. Tony, the screen share on my left makes all the pictures so small that I really couldn't see the clip demonstration. And so I was wondering if you could remove the screen share, then Laura would be bigger and I could see what she was doing. Is that possible?
Sure.
Let's try to do that here.
Yeah. So, okay, there we go. Thanks, Judy. So what we have is it is a 3D clip. My brother actually made them with this 3D printer in Michigan for the healthcare providers, but it has 3 little rungs on it. And what you do with the mask is you clip it on, and then you clip it on the other side. So what you're doing is one of 2 things. If you wear the mask over your ear, it pulls the string back so that it's not resting on your ear. If you choose to pull it down, you could wear the mask below your ears. And if it's too loose, you just tie a knot in the string. But by pulling the string below, it leaves the hearing aid totally unobstructed, and it's so much more comfortable.
Thank you. I could not see the clip at all before.
Thank you, Judy. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Judy, for letting us know. All right. Thank you, Anne. Let me share my screen one more time here. All right. Now, talking a little bit more and moving on, Anne, thanks for showing that demonstration. I have not seen a clip like that, so I feel like that could be very, very valuable. So thanks for showing that. Now, I wanted to kind of go off of what Anne just talked about with listening effort. When it comes to listening effort, we know that there is a lot of effort that has to go into listening and understanding for individuals with hearing loss. For individuals that have no hearing loss, listening and understanding is usually a very passive process. Somebody says something, our brain processes it, and then we have understanding. For individuals with hearing loss, what happens is the brain is getting less details. Now, because of that, the brain has to work harder to try to fill in the information. And because of that, concentrating harder and putting more effort can be very tiring at the end of the day. Now, especially in the world that we're dealing with today with masks, it has been very difficult. And we saw that based on the poll question results that you said. I think about 70% of you said that was the most difficult situation. One of the other things that we know is if somebody has to put a lot of effort into listening, it actually takes away brain resources that could be used for other things, like remembering conversations. You may have a conversation with somebody, putting a lot of effort into that. Later in the day, you try to remember what was said in that conversation, and it may be more difficult. So these are things that we consider at Oticon when we make and when we create hearing devices. How can we improve upon listening effort? How can we improve upon understanding, especially in difficult environments? And how can we also improve upon memory recall by making things easier? And so one of the things that we really focus on, like I talked about at the beginning, are brain hearing technologies. Understanding how the brain naturally processes sound and then giving the brain the information that it needs. Now, a number of years ago, Oticon really focused on trying to do things a little bit differently in the industry. When it comes to regular or conventional hearing aid technology, a lot of times what the hearing aids will do is when you go into difficult listening environments, the hearing aids start to pick up just what's coming from in front and ignoring things to the side and behind, kind of like a visual image of what you see here. If this gentleman is wearing hearing aids, people at the table to the side of him, he's not going to be able to hear them because the hearing aid is not picking that information up. Now, in the field, this has been the kind of status quo to try to deal with difficult listening environments by just picking up what's coming from in front. A number of years ago, Oticon decided we wanted to do something different. And what we've done in the hearing aids is be able to amplify all of the sounds that are coming around you, but especially making sure that speech has more of an emphasis. So we keep open the listening environment to be able to give your brain more of that sound picture. Now, the new technology that we launched into the field January 12th of this year, so it's not even a month old yet, has a very new and revolutionary technology, if you will. And what that is, and it talked a little bit about it on that flyer Tony shared with you for Anne's practice. It uses what we call artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, there are many different subsets of things that fall under artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has been used in the hearing aids for a number of years. But what we have done is implement deep learning as a part of artificial intelligence. And through that deep learning, we have used a deep neural network directly in the hearing aids. Now, what that does is it does a much better job to be able to understand the environment around the patient or around you to make sure that speech has more of an emphasis and that other sounds that are distracting or disturbing are going to be much more reduced. Now, what that gives is a better sound quality. It also improves speech understanding greatly because of this new noise removal feature. The other thing that we know is that it can improve our memory recall along with listening effort as well. So because of this new deep neural network technology, there are a lot of benefits that we have had that we didn't have in previous instruments because of this artificial intelligence and these deep neural networks. Now, I'm not going to go into finite details about how deep neural networks work, but there is a very interesting video on YouTube, and maybe I could ask Dr. Majid to post that if he's able to. If not, we can send that to Tony, but it talks a little bit more about how the deep neural networks actually work in the hearing aid if you want more information on that. This is something that hasn't been used before, and we know that it can improve sound quality, speech understanding in difficult environments, and also reduce listening effort. Now, one of the nice things about hearing aid technology in general is the fact that the hearing care provider you work with can fine-tune and personalize that hearing aid for you. Now at Oticon, we have another layer of this personalization built into our software, where it programs the hearing aid specifically to your listening preferences. But besides that, even in all of the other hearing aid manufacturers, hearing aids can be specifically tailored to you and to your needs. Like Anne was talking about, if you have difficulties being able to go into your hearing care provider and ask them to create a different type of mask program so you can have increased understanding. Now, to talk a little bit more about some of the other pieces of technology that we have, connectivity that can improve your listening experience, I'm going to have Anne come back here and talk to you after we ask you another poll question that has to do with connectivity. So Laura, if you'll go ahead and read this this question here.
Sure. If you use hearing devices, do you use an app to control your hearing device volume, programs, or anything else? This app could be on a phone, a smartphone, or an iPad, or some other device.
All right, we'll give you about 5 more seconds to answer. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the polling and I'll share those results. So it looks like a good amount of you are using that, 58%, and then 42% of you are not. So Anne is going to talk a little bit about these connectivity pieces, and maybe you'll find some value for using this, an app or connectivity in your lives.
Thank you, Shalise. I would really like to kind of have delved into this even a little bit deeper with our poll questions in the future, for those people to say, are you using your smartphone to control the programs and the volume versus are you directly taking phone calls into your hearing aids? So one of the exciting things about the Oticon More is that it not only is connected to iPhone when you take a phone call, and that has been around for about 4 or 5 years now, but the new Oticon More is allowing some of the new Android phones to be able to connect directly as well. And that is a huge hurrah, because a lot of you who are iPhone users and love your Androids, which is great, you now have that ability where you don't need an extra intervention in order to get the phone call. So what I mean is that when you take your phone and you get a call, you can take it right into your hearing aids. So that is something that is a big benefit. Some of the newer new phones also have in it that ability, and it's called ASHA, A-S-H-A, and that stands for Audio Streaming of Hearing Aids. So what you want to do if you're looking at buying a new Android phone is to see if it has ASHA in the phone. So again, that stands for Audio Streaming of Hearing Aids. An iPhone automatically has that, but the new Android phones are what you want to look for. So iPhone connectivity, being able to take a phone call right into your hearing aids, eliminates that background noise. And it is something that I can't tell you. I have patients who are on the verge of having a cochlear implant because they can't hear on the phone. And now that they have this ability, they have now been giving out their cell phone numbers instead of the landline. So I really want to encourage a lot of you who are struggling on the phone, you're struggling with your Zoom calls. There are ways now to use your phone and your tablet in order to get that connectivity. Oticon has made it very seamless where you can use a little dongle, which is a little piece down on the bottom right of the screen, as well as a clip to allow you to take these kind of sessions, anything you're doing on the computer, and hear it directly into the hearing aids. The same thing with the TV. So again, they have just started to make the connectivity of their hearing aids so seamless and so natural sounding. So if you struggled in the past with any use of an app, don't go there. Come back and revisit it because it will be well worth your while.
Great. Thanks, Ann.
Yep, so then we have the Connect clip here, and this little guy is amazing. If you have an older Android phone, he would allow you to get that direct streaming right into your hearing aid. He would also be able to be used with the dongle in order to get direct streaming for the computer. So if you have issues where you're not getting the clarity as good as you would like it when you are Zooming with your family, check into these kinds of devices because they will definitely make a world of difference for you. The other thing that I want to talk about is just that the Oticon More only comes in a rechargeable hearing aid at this time. So you get to pop it right into the charger. For 3 hours of charging time, you get up to 30 hours of use time. So let me say that again. It only takes 3 hours of charging in order to get up to 30 hours of use, which is huge. The reason that it is rechargeable, which means you cannot put a battery into it, is because the chip, as Shalise was alluding to, is got so much going on. It draws so much energy that it needs to be kind of ramped up each day. If it was to use a conventional battery, you would be changing that battery about every other day because it just is doing so much behind the scenes. So I just want to encourage you that if you struggle with putting batteries in your hearing aids, the rechargeable system is the way to go moving forward. Had great success with them.
Great. Let me bring up another poll question that we have here. Let's bring this up for you, Laura, if you'll read this.
Yeah, thank you. If your audiologist could adjust your hearing aids using your smartphone or tablet, would you use this option?
All right, we'll give you about 10 more seconds. All right, let me go ahead and close this poll. That's great to be able to see that. Let me share these results with you. So Ann, very interesting.
Yeah, it is 81%. That's great. So the advantage with the new Oticon More and just any of the Oticon hearing aids, one of the benefits, and I know it's hard to think that there are benefits that have come out of COVID, but this Zooming, the way that Tony's doing these meetings is one of them, that we don't have to stay isolated, but that we have the Zoom capability. Another thing is that telehealth has really exponentially grown. And what I mean by that is that Oticon has released their Oticon RemoteCare system. A lot of the other manufacturers also have upped the game and they have released their programs. So this is something that was available, but nobody really wanted to do it because it takes effort to learn something new, right? You guys are all learning that. Initially, well, I don't really want to get into that Zoom thing. I'm not going to participate, but it's been over a year. So now we are forced to participate and forced to learn. Well, the same thing happened with this RemoteCare. So with RemoteCare through Oticon, if you have an Oticon hearing aid, we can schedule and the Oticon On. So it's the newer hearing aid, either the OPN or the Oticon More, or the Ruby hearing aids. But what that allows us to do is we can actually program your hearing aids while they're in your ears. There's a few requirements, like we need to be able to FaceTime, but in general, if you're Zooming, we will be able to adjust your hearing aids for you. So the advantage is if through these COVID times you're not feeling well, you don't want to get out of the office, now we can still have that great interaction. The only thing we can't do is to take a look in your ears and make sure that the wax is out of there. So, this isn't the end all be all, but it is an amazing technology that we're really excited to offer. We've done it for patients who've moved out of state. We've done it for patients who just weren't feeling well enough to come into the office but needed their hearing aids checked. It's been a great way to do that. It's very easy. There are some steps. It's not just call us up and we'll do it. You got to download an app and do some other things, but very simple overall and great success on the back end. So we're very excited that Oticon has offered this technology, and I think you're going to enjoy it moving forward.
Anne, we have a question. Janie, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sure. I just bought Oticon Exceed hearing aid, Oticon Exceed 2.
Mm-hmm.
And will the RemoteCare work for those? You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
the model.
Yes.
Yeah,
great. So the Exceed is just the behind the ear version, but it uses the ON app, the ON app, and yes, you would be able to do the RemoteCare with that hearing aid for sure. Yes. Yep. Now you got to make sure that your hearing healthcare provider is doing it on their end, but if they're not, we would be happy to help you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just jump in for a second. This is Dr. Majid. I also wanted to mention, which I know is very important to many of you, is that these new instruments do come with a T-coil. And I know depending on where you're going, whether it's you're attending a meeting or religious service that has that capability, it can come in very handy. So please know that the T-coil capability is included in every of these more type instruments.
Thank you, David. That's very important.
Yeah, and just know that some of the other manufacturers had to look at what they eliminated out of their hearing aid in order because of the space constraints and the energy, but Oticon chose to keep the T-coil, which is a huge bonus for the Laguna Woods area.
We have another question here from Raina. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
You need to unmute.
Raina? Yeah, unmute.
Here, let me try to unmute her.
A double unmute.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I have a question. Just these two manufacturers, Widex and Oticon, what's the difference between them? What are you asking?
Well, the difference is, the similarity is they're both Danish, Denmark-made hearing aids, but there's a lot of differences, but it depends upon your hearing loss. So today we're just focusing in on the Oticon more, but that's something I would be happy to discuss with you at a later date of how that applies to you.
Well, okay, thank you.
I would like to also point out one important factor that you need to take into consideration is that no matter how advanced or sophisticated or terrific a new technology is, the success depends partly on the technology itself, but just as much on the hearing care professional that you see, because we've seen situations where, unfortunately, if one is not skilled at what they're doing or is knowledgeable, you're not going to get the same results as someone who really understands the technology, understands your particular problem and how best to correct it. So it is very important that you're comfortable, that you see a hearing care professional, and my preference is making sure it's an audiologist. Since I'm an audiologist, I think that they're certainly far better educated than the non-audiologists, even though there are good ones out there as well. But it is important to make sure you choose the correct professional that you're going to be comfortable with. This is it's not like shopping for a car. This is a long-term relationship. And so you have to have the trust in that individual that they're doing the best for you. So I would just make sure that you consider that when choosing a professional to deal with.
All right.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, David. And do you want to go ahead and take this last slide, and then we can open it up to more questions if there are any more?
Sure. So the last slide is that what our next steps are as far as if any of you are interested, as Tony mentioned, we are having an open house next Tuesday and Wednesday. Dr. Magee will be with us on those days. So if you'd like to meet him in person, you are welcome to come by and stop by and ask some questions. We are demonstrating the technology. I can honestly say that there are times in the industry when there are major breakthroughs. When we went from analog to digital, that was one of them. When we went from the tube to the skinny wire, the RIC or the receiver in the ear, that was one of them. When Oticon came out 4 years ago with their OPN hearing aid, which allowed for you to be open and hearing not only what's in front of you, but all around you, that was a breakthrough. This more technology is another one of those breakthroughs. So if you've been wearing hearing aids and you're not happy with them, or you're not doing it like the people in the beginning, I'd be, encouraging for you to say this might be the time to get into technology, because the sound quality is just exponentially growing. As an audiologist, I'm very encouraged on the success that people are having, because we're starting to get the devices to act more like our brain. We are doing cross connections. We're hearing things around us, and it helps not only with your hearing and comprehension, but with your balance, your alertness, your overall cognitive function. Our goal is not to sell hearing aids. Our goal is to change the quality of your life through your hearing. And that's what we're very blessed to be able to do. So again, I just want to encourage you, wherever you go, make sure that the technology is meeting your needs, and don't stay with something just because you like the person. Make sure that they're giving you the most, that you're getting everything you can. And that's our suggestion to you, is to schedule your appointments, go see your providers, and try some new technology, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Thank you, Anne.
Mm-hmm.
Joyce, do you have a question?
Can I just ask you to hold on a second?
Yeah.
Joyce Chan, I'm going to ask you to unmute and you can ask your question.
I have a single-sided hearing, so I do have the Oticon, and I'm using the Bicross. And I just wondered how this, would work with the clarity.
Yeah, so because the hearing aid, the More has just been released, I don't know if you are, what model you have, if you are in the OPN or you have an earlier version, but the Bicross is not available at this time in the More technology.
Right,
I think it will be coming down the pipe. Is that correct, Shalise? But it's just the new release. So it would not be compatible at this time.
Yeah, I just got it in October, and it wasn't compatible and it's not, I can't have a rechargeable. And that's probably why I couldn't get that, because of I have to use batteries on the Bicross.
Correct. On the Bicross side, you would have to use a battery, but you could have rechargeable on the hearing aid side.
I could? Oh, okay. I'll check into that then. Thank you.
Joyce, let me see if there are any questions here in the chat box. David, did you notice any questions that we need to address in the chat box?
So one of them, it says, it sounds like the More technology is not available in the Exceed 2 hearing aid. That is correct. The exceed means that it's a behind the ear hearing aid, and that it's not out yet. It might not be out for 6 months to a year, or we just don't know what the time frame is. Is that correct, Shalise?
Yeah, we don't know exactly what the time frame is on that. We will be coming out with other technologies in the future using this deep neural network technology, but I don't have a timeline to share, unfortunately.
There was another comment about your picture shows the audiologist placing the aid in the patient's ear. Please remember to leave the battery door open to prevent feedback. And that is a good point. However, if the hearing aid is connected to the computer, the audiologist can mute the hearing aids. So when they're placing them in the ear, you do not get any feedback, and then they can turn the instruments on. So depending on what the situation is, it is a good point. So thank you, Tom, for pointing that out.
The other thing to add to that is that there is a delay, especially coming off the charger. So you have up to 12 seconds to get the hearing aid in your ear before the feedback starts to occur. So if you're a quick pusher-inner, then you can get it in without it feeding back.
Yeah.
But that's a great point.
We're in the questions and answers section, so I'm going to ask you to use the raise hand if you have a question, and you'll find that if you came late, that's under reactions on your toolbar at the bottom. And the first question we have is Winnie Rice. I'm going to ask you to unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I was in a class this morning, so I missed the presentation. Is there any way I can access it?
Oh, yes. Thank you for asking that, Winnie. I record all our sessions. This session is being recorded, and I'll be uploading it in the YouTube, and I'll announce to everybody when that's ready. I'll send the link out in an email.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anne and Laura, I do have a question. As far as if someone is interested in evaluating this new technology, how does that work? Is there a period of time that they can try the instruments before they have to make a decision?
Thank you, David. Yes, we are doing demonstrations for free in our office. Anytime you can call and schedule an appointment to get a free demonstration and consultation. If you decide that you would like to move ahead with the technology, we have a 45-day trial period. Both a state and federal law allows you to have 45 days with 100% guarantee. If you don't like it, you can return it, and all your money is refunded for the hearing aids. So the biggest investment that you have is your time and effort. And again, I think that you'd be pleasantly surprised on the difference that this newest technology can make.
Can we stop the screen share unless there's some other slides that you have?
No, that's all I have, Tony.
Okay. I actually do have a poll question that I would like to show you. Let's see here. And the question is, well, I asked it wrong. Just check the box, yes or no, if you would like me to send you information about the Oticon open house that is coming up at the amazing hearing office. So just say yes or no if you would like. Oh, we have to launch the poll.
That would help.
So just let me know. It says email me. I wrote the question at the last minute and I didn't mean it. Just say yes or no, and I'll be sure that you get the information.
The other part to add to that, Tony, thank you for that, is just our goal is for people to maximize their hearing potential. And so David will be with us definitely on Tuesday. Come in and talk to him. We follow CDC guidelines. We clean between patients. We're wearing masks. We have all those kinds of things in place. But hearing is believing. So at whatever point you decide you'd like to do that, we'd love to have you. We also have a few in-office raffles. So stop by and just sign up for the raffle.
There are some more questions, if I can, in the chat box. And Janie asked about the USB looking gadget. So for the USB looking gadget for plugging into computers, how does that work with the Oticon Exceed?
Yeah, so there is a little dongle, and I'm going to pull one out here, and I hopefully didn't pull something out. There is a little piece here that's called a dongle, and you have to purchase this specific dongle to go with the Connect clip. There is a, do we have one here? You grab it out of my office. There's a little clip. We had it on one of the slides. Oh, Shalise has it right there. So these two pieces go together to make any computer compatible with your Oticon hearing aids. And that way you can stream directly into your ears. So I have a gentleman who is part of the Hearing Well Club here, and he has shared in the past how he has used this so that he can watch videos at night while his wife sleeps and he doesn't wake her up. So it's a great idea, and it works really, really well.
Worked very well for me. Indeed.
Oh, Elkin, there you go. He's our hero. He's the one that uses it. Elkin, do you want to talk a little bit about that? You got to unmute.
It's very useful for me, and the fact is that the dongle, I can use it on a Mac and a PC. It works on both of them, and that's what I've used it for. And so whenever I'm watching and listening to anything on my PC, it's the only sound output I have now, which also helps because I'm not blasting loudspeakers through the house and disturbing my wife or anybody else who's there. So I've had very good experience with it.
Excellent. Okay,
and Elkin is using the Exceed hearing aid. So I just want you to know he's got a significant hearing loss, and he is finding the clarity so much better.
Excellent. Okay, so another question, is there an online source to preview features of the different models?
One of the things that I think would be the most helpful with that, to have a better understanding, there are definitely sources that show the feature names in different models, but that may not really mean a lot to you. So on YouTube, if you go to YouTube, it's a great place to look up different videos that we have. If you type in the Oticon More hearing aids, there's a lot of information. If you wanted to know how that compared to the Open S, you could type in the Open S, which is the previous product as well, to understand what the features are in the different products. I think that would probably be the best source for that.
Okay, Don Ann, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Yes, if you're thinking about getting the dongle, I contacted Oticon customer service when I got mine because I didn't know how to set it up, and they walked me through it completely. And the other thing I would say is it has meant so much to me because I now can enjoy my church service, and I'm taking 3 emeritus classes this semester simply because I have my hearing aids paired with my computer.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
That's
Great.
terrific. That is wonderful.
Let me see what we've got here. Another question.
Can I just add to that Dawn Ann was a little nervous about that because she's not techie. And Dawn Ann, do you want to say it wasn't hard, was it?
No.
No.
Does the this is Janie asked the question, does the dongle require adding a new program to your hearing aids?
No. So the dongle is just the piece in the computer that will talk to the Connect clip. And now we're just talking about Oticon hearing aids in this scenario. Other manufacturers may have something similar, but the little dongle goes into your computer and it talks to that Connect clip, and the Connect clip is what talks to your hearing aids.
We do have a question from Sally. It says, my ear canals are malformed due to multiple ear infections, excuse me, as a child. So I can't use earbuds. How would that affect wearing hearing aids?
Well, I would say as an audiologist, that is right up our alley. We would be able to look at your ear canals and modify something with a custom ear mold in order to make it work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, are there any other questions? This is a good time. Okay, Jill Pollard, you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
It's not actually a question. I've worked with Ann and Laura for a bit, and I've tried various hearing aids with them, and I'm now using your more hearing aids with customized molds, and they're amazing, especially with the customized molds. Just wanted to make that comment. I am kind of a Android person, but and have the
Connect clip
to use with the Android. Thank you. But phone, which I'm using right now. Both devices work very well with these hearing aids. But I just wanted to comment how well these new hearing aids work.
That's terrific, Jill. We're so happy that you're doing as well as you are, and wish you the best of luck with that. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
Thanks, Jill.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. So Dr. Butters and Dr. Nagy, thank you so much. Also, I do want to let everybody know that Oticon has donated generously to the Mission Viejo chapter, and that will help us keep the lights on, so to speak. So thank you very much for spending your time answering all the questions. And Anne and Laura, amazing hearing. You two are amazing. You are amazing, and perfect name. And I want to thank you both for all of your contributions.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you for joining us. And again, thank you, Tony, and thank you, Ann and Laura, as well. And we just hope this was an educational experience. But please, if you have any questions, please reach out to Tony or Ann and Laura. And we just wish you guys all the health and be safe. And thanks again for joining us.
Bye. Thank you, Tony.
So, for the few of you that are left, this is not related to the presentation. I am thinking about adding a chat session for the Mission Viejo chapter, an additional meeting per month, just to chat amongst ourselves, ask questions of ourselves. So I have a little poll here. Would you be interested in chat? That would be no presentation, just chat meetings. So here's the poll. So let me know. We did have happy hours on Friday evening, and they kind of fizzled out. But if there's enough people that are interested, I think it would be really great, especially now during COVID and people are still not venturing out like they normally would, to connect and find out how we're doing. We could talk about hearing aids. We could talk about the weather, whatever you want to talk about. Okay. Thank you for participating in the poll. And I'm going to share the results. So it just sort of tipped the scale to yes. So I'll schedule something and let's see how it goes. I'll send everybody an email. Okay. Thank you so very much. I hope you enjoyed today's session and you will join us again next month. Dr. Jillian from UCI Medical Center is going to be presenting. He's always very interesting. He's a medical doctor. He's a cochlear implant surgeon, and he handles all issues regarding the ear and the neck. And so he's always very interesting. So I'll be sending out notices on that just in a week or so. Okay, so hope to see you next month. And thanks so much. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.